Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate. Coming to you live from different places in Florida. Here this week, we're going to talk about the death by meetings. It's going to be a fun topic to dive into. We all have felt that time in our lives, or maybe you haven't yet, and you're lucky, but we'll warn you about it. Where it feels like all that you're doing is being in a meeting with coffee cups that I can't read. That says Carlos and something.
In Florida.
Oh, whoa. Is that PG for
No, that's
PG-rated show?
NFSW, dude. NFSW, not safe for work. Touch them butts.
It's pretty much Let's Talk Real Estate. But if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. Click our links. Follow us. Let's talk. What kind of updates you guys got for the week? What's been going on in your lives?
I just want to lead off that I just watched a weird video on Instagram while waiting for the 5 minutes where a man just tried to breastfeed his newborn baby and was unsure as to why he couldn't produce milk because he identifies as a woman apparently. And he was trying to figure out, he said the baby can latch, but I am still unable to produce milk for it. And I'm just dumbfounded of how these people,
or is this supposed to be a parody that they're
you never know, but I just feel like you gotta base things in reality here, and like this was mind-boggling to say the least. I mean, it was a real birth. It was like, what? I mean, it looked, I guess you don't know nowadays, right? Yeah.
True.
Could I have just gotten had by fake media? Could they have just gotten me?
Who? What?
Fake media, just, what do you call it when they make fake videos? Deep fakes. I could have just been deep faked.
You could have been.
I didn't even know that new term.
You don't know deep fake? It's supposed to be all
No.
the rage going forward, where they can make things seem like what they aren't. They can get people's faces, say things, do things, get your likeness. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You'll
Sorry.
see me up
That
there.
was my
Explaining
update
how
for
real
the week.
estate's the worst thing ever. Deep fake. That's your update for the week? That's it? Just like a strange Instagram video?
I don't know why Instagram's algorithms have been targeting me with this type of agenda. I just feel like it already knows my beliefs on it and is trying to push my freaking buttons.
Yeah, sounds like they are.
What
What
kind
else
of
is
updates
going
you
on?
got?
We do.
Well,
That made me. I'll let you go on the main update this week, but that made me think. Before I was going to bed last night, just watching some random YouTube stuff, and was seeing. I guess we had mentioned it on a previous episode, but I didn't realize how much money was lost by Meta, specifically on the Metaverse.
Oh yeah.
That is absolutely
How much was it?
insane.
Do you know?
It went up. I can't remember the total. Maybe like 60 billion, something like that. 60, 70
Bro, their
billion.
stock tanked. It was down
Yeah.
the other day because I've been watching. I'm turning it back on. I've been watching CNBC's in the office. Bro, it was down at like $93, $94 a share, and earlier this year it was up at like $350. I don't know why they don't believe in Zuck. That man will do anything to keep his dream alive. He will steal, murder. He will listen to our devices. I mean, he will do what it takes. My money's on Zuck for the big win.
I think it'll take a while for people to realize that he was onto something, but it would be one of those things that you look back in tech history and be like, do you remember when people didn't believe in him? And then look what happened now.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a Pied Piper event. 100%. You know?
Did you just ruin the last season for me? Thanks.
Oh, you still watched the last season? Come on, bro.
Spin the wheel. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I've been consuming more Patrick Bet David content.
He's good.
He is, and he's right nearby in Fort Lauderdale. So it started with like a tour of his mansion. Yeah, I'm gonna go stop up there on the way to golf this weekend.
Pop in.
Sick house in Fort Lauderdale. But yeah, he was talking about that, and like Jim Cramer, I believe his name is, the stock guy, the sell guy, was like crying, like issuing an apology for telling people to put stock in Meta. Did you guys see that?
I don't know why. I don't think that's a bad thing.
But like stocks are unpredictable, and Facebook has been an amazing. Or Meta
I would
has been an
100% buy Meta stock, regardless of whether it's making money today or not. Like, I'm more like a Buffett. Like, I'm just a long-term guy. That and Uber, I would be all over Uber, 100%. Did you hear they're delivering cannabis now in Canada? And
No, I didn't hear that.
was like, I'll do it in the U.S. once it becomes federally legal. I'm like, bro, I don't know if you guys remember Half Baked, the movie
Yeah.
with Dave Chappelle back in the 90s, where he was getting food delivered to his door. And I was like, the night just. I'm like, here it comes.
I want to talk
Uber's
to
going to make a shit ton of money because potheads are notoriously lazy. There's one thing you could say about 99% of potheads is they're lazy, so you give them an app. I mean, they're already ordering their McDonald's and their munchie food. Now they can do the pre-munchie order and the post-high order. Get their munchies, they get it all Uber Eats just directly to them. Uber Eats, Uber Smokes.
All that the last 2 years has been wild.
Crazy. I would buy Uber. A lot of the stocks are tanking because of earnings. And did you see, I know we're getting into Pulse of the Week, but I don't give a shit because there's massive layoffs, dude. What is it? Open Door lost money. I mean, OfferPad finally reported a loss. It was one of the ones reporting wins. It reported a loss. What's the other company? Open Door, OfferPad. There's that third one. But they were doing layoffs too. They were laying off a subset of their employees.
I didn't even think about when we've been talking recession how much is going to affect those companies with their tiny margins.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard.
Twitter, obviously.
Can jam on that more in depth for sure.
My other update is my mobile home purchase got pushed till Monday, so I will update everybody next week on my mobile home purchase. We had an issue with the titles. I got to get all my titles, and it was a little different because of seller financing, how we're structuring the title transfer and the lien on the titles for the individual mobiles, not the land. So that was intriguing. I've learned a lot through this process, but I'll update everyone next week on my first mobile home park, baby, 40 acres.
I'm excited to hear about that. It'll be fun.
Let's get it. A new chapter in the story of Papa P.
And I noticed for anybody who's not an Investor Fuse user, fuck you. If you're not, you need to get on there. And if you are, you would notice that underneath their logo, it says Investor Fuse by Carrot now. They had their big announcement, which yours truly was on. But John and Carlos crushed the show.
I don't know, man. You crushed it too. We're just there talking about how cool the app is, and you talk about how it actually makes you money. So,
I could have kept talking. If Trevor wasn't trying to cut me off the whole time, he could have let me run with it. I would have just broken out my screen share and just been like, all right, people, let's go through some leads.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, we talked about it on the show a while ago. There was a soft announcement back in, I don't know, March? I want to say March time. On a summit there where we announced that we were acquired by Carrot all the way back on January 3rd, I believe the date was, something like that. But yeah, it kind of made it a bit more official, which is really just kind of like a time for the two teams to come together. I don't know if you know this about big businesses with lots of employees. You set your plans out ahead of time, and it's hard to bring things in and adjust the plan. So we Q4 is all about kind of tying the two teams together and making sure that we can push some leads together. So super exciting stuff there. And there is let's call it a bundle deal. If you need a Carrot account and an awesome CRM to go with it, there is a bundle for that. So just email Carlos@investorfuse.com and he can help you figure out what to do there.
And
but yeah, no, exciting times.
Let me know. I'm trying to find this thing on YouTube. I thought they streamed. I wanted to see how many people watched it, but I can't find it on YouTube.
They always take down their live streams. So I think if you go to their blogs, if you go to blog,
if you just go carrot.com, it's still a banner up there with the announcement. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, I just wanted to see how many people viewed it. I wanted to see how famous I was.
Yeah, I think they take down the videos. I can't use blog.
But I heard your demo. I mean, you're demoed out. I mean, you got a whole bunch of demos booked, Carlos, right?
We have some people that are in need of a CRM, a nice, simple to use CRM.
Yeah.
So definitely got pretty booked up there, and it's nice ripple effects too, which I feel like this is kind of a principle in general for business. So it's like, not only did we have people book demos from strictly the call to action on the webinar, but also people reached out that were either former Investor Fuse customers. I I've spoken to, they were kind of already in my lead pipeline. Like they kind of reached out because of that. And then doing some posts for the announcement, I've heard from some other people that are just like in the industry or in the industry or just like friends or whatever. So it's kind of like a nice like ripple after the initial wave of like seeing what happens, and excited to see like how it goes the rest of the year and obviously moving forward.
Yeah, Carrot does a good job, man. Like I just got a deal. Like I don't think people understand. Like people think that you got to get Carrot to do PPC and stuff. You just need to get a good performing site that's there that you keep up that generates organic traffic too and looks credible. And again, you can go buy one from somebody, but I've been using Carrot since like I don't even know, 2017 maybe. I got like, look at behind me. I got my little Carrot guy. I don't know what way I'm going here. I got my little Carrot guy that I got like way years and years ago. But we use it. I was telling Trevor in the call, like we use it just to put on our direct mail. We just got a deal from it. I mean, we made like 40K off this deal, and we did nothing. Nothing. The guy was just, we put it on our direct mail organically. We put it on, we refer people to it, but we're also there just as you Google us locally in Lakeland, we pop up. And so at first I thought he came from direct mail, thinking, okay, well, that's the only way, right? Because we don't really do PPC here right now. And so I thought he had come from the direct mail, went to our website, filled out the form. But when my TC went and asked him how he found it, he said he just found us organically on Google, and he was going through the sites. He said we weren't on the first page. I think we were on the second page. He thought our site was credible, and we had good reviews on us on our site because I have like a section for that. And that's what made him choose. So Carrot was really the reason why we got that deal, and it didn't take PPC for me to make money to do that. It was just straight. It cost me $0 to get that lead, all from just keeping, other than the monthly payment I make to Carrot. But I mean, it just sits there and it ties, and it came into my CRM and investor views, and we locked and loaded that thing. Called him while he was at work first thing in the morning because the lead came in at like 7:30. Called him right after, locked it up same day. All from just having that site connected to my investor fuse and just sitting there waiting like a trap.
That's phenomenal.
So it doesn't always take PPC money. You know, people think they don't need to get the Carrot site until they're ready to do PPC, but it's definitely, even on direct mail, it's coming really handy. We get a lot of web form fill outs from our direct mail, what do you call it? You know, putting it on the postcard.
Yeah, because people always want to go like, oh, I got this postcard. That doesn't necessarily mean
they want to look
company. Yeah, they want to look it up. The only way you can do that is with a website.
Yeah. It's becoming more and more of a thing these days. People just want to do like a quick Google, make sure you're a real person, real company.
I use Google phone numbers too. That like, I've actually heard Trevor talk about this. Like, take all your phone numbers that are on your direct mail piece, put them in your copy on your homepage. So when somebody goes, or like any numbers that you dial out with, so when somebody's like, "Who's calling me?" from this phone number, your website pops up.
It's not bad. That would be extremely difficult to do. I'd have to have a conversation with Trevor for a company like mine, how we're swapping.
Well, I would do your smartphone numbers for sure. Maybe
I was just, as I said it, that was immediately what I thought. I don't think I could do my direct mail numbers because we swap those. Every postcard's unique, or every postcard campaign is unique. Same thing with cold calling. But the smartphone numbers, for anybody from my team who's listening, let's hop on that.
Ideas
before
about
I forget. And then, you know, I thought it was interesting too, Carlos, I need to get with you on adding that one-off email, right?
Templates.
I was talking about smartphone, and all of a sudden a smartphone just popped up on my screen.
Somebody's calling.
Just took over my monitor.
Live call. Take a live call.
I was on the phone with Brandon earlier, so we took a live call. It was pretty funny.
Oh, I was trying to get rid of the lady because I was just trying to show John something. I was about to offer her $1 just to get her off the phone so I could show John what I wanted to show him. Oh, I forget what I was saying, but I want to get with you
getting with me on templates.
Email. Huh?
Yeah.
I want to add. We have a credibility kit that we've had, and we're finalizing our updates to it, and I want that to be a pre-formed email that goes out for anyone that doesn't have a credibility kit. It's not just so much a credibility kit for trying to get the offer. A lot of times we find like almost not like FOMO, but FOSO, fear of selling. Is that a thing? After they say yes to us, it's like good to send something out to them, and I want that automated. So I'd love to get on that Investor Fuse feature and get that sent out so my acquisition people could do it when a contract is sent almost.
For sure, super easy. I would say that templates, when you're inside of an opportunity, are what most people would maybe see as like canned responses.
Yeah.
Essentially, saved messages that you can go in there. I'm unsure exactly of the capability of putting an attachment in there from within a template, but
See, that's
you can
what
at
I'd
least
be
link it to
interested in.
something,
Yeah.
and
You can link it to it.
Unless
Just
we
put it
could
on your
trigger
carrot
something
site.
with DocuSign, yeah. Like
yeah, I'm
sending
sure that's what
something-
Tyler does.
Yeah.
I think I have a request in there to bring attachments to templates. Probably came from
that'd
Tyler.
be sweet.
Do you see
That'd be
that?
sweet.
Do you see what happens, guys? That's the benefit of knowing the people who founded Investor Fuse and part of the team is we talk about something and we can get those features implemented ASAP.
Yeah, but let's not dilute. The whole
John's
world's
going to
be
have
like,
that in by the beginning of next week, everybody. Don't worry. Mark my words. John, you're now on the wire.
It's not happening. I'm sorry, I got other priorities. We can make it happen at some point. Let's go with that.
Yeah, the producer's in my ear to say no timelines for John and the dev team getting stuff rolled out. But yeah, overall, I would say amazing promo week for Carrot and the Investor Fuse team. Is always awesome having Brandon on there, and Tyler Ford was really, really good too. He is a polished Carrot speaker, has been with them a long time, and does really well with a lean and mean team. Him, his wife, and like they just brought on a salesperson like 3-4 months ago so they can travel and do their thing. So that was really cool. And then all the, appreciate, a lot of people reached out for congratulations, because it was interesting because we did a really light, like we just mentioned it during a Carrot event, but this was actually the first time that we promoted stuff. So a ton of people reached out. One of my favorite things I saw, John, was from you sharing the Trevor's announcement, and Matt Terrio reached out, who's like big time wholesaler investor, and was like giving you a lot of love and appreciation. And I tell you the story when this was like years ago. I think it was at like a family mastermind event. We were at dinner, and Matt Terrio was telling Sean Terry, he goes, "Man, I had John Whitfield before he made I forget the exact quote, but he said something just speaking so highly of John and how amazing he is, and how lucky that he was happy to have John working with him." So it's nice to see stuff come full circle. Yeah.
Now that John's on webinars, has his own podcast, and is famous, it's like
2 podcasts.
People are going to start to say, "I knew John back when."
Yeah, no, I mean, I always I tell my kids this story most of the time because like it's a good learning lesson. Matt found me off Fiverr, and I had just started. I found Podio before I knew what real estate investing was, and so I started to do Podio consulting for just any kind of business. And then he found me off Fiverr. It's like, "Hey, I want to do real estate on this," and I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And he's like, "How much?" I was like, "Doesn't matter. Like, don't worry about it. We're just gonna do it. Let's build something fun." And so I never charged him a dime, and he sent me probably my first 20 customers. I would say
referrals is how I found you.
Yeah. Exactly, and it just grew from there.
For free. I was helping. I met a guy at a mastermind. He wanted to pick my brain. We talked. We went for a cigar, talked to him a couple times. That we don't talk that much anymore, but like, and I mentioned I had a problem with Podio, and he mentioned his. I was like, "Do you mind, like, if I get your guy?" And he was like, "Yeah, just give him a call." And that was it. That's how I found John. All from just nowadays everyone's like, "If you want to talk to me, pay me $2,000." I don't know. I don't do that. I just won't talk to you. If I don't have the time, I'm just not talking to you.
Yep. The good old days.
Speaking of time, guys.
Yeah, time.
I wanted it. So I brought this meeting topic to the team here, guys, because I felt like I was at a point where I was frustrated. And I'm sure the audience is frustrated because it's 24 minutes into the show and they're like, "Holy fuck, when are you guys going to talk about meetings? Let's go. We're sick and tired of hearing about how awesome Investor Fuse and Carrot is." But my last few weeks or months have been extremely stressful and hectic. Not just because I balance a lot, but because I felt like I was getting murdered by meetings. And I thought that like the general consensus out there, and what I was talking to the guys about earlier in the week when we started coming up with show topics, and I was like, man, like everybody thinks that you get into real estate to free your time. And I'm not disagreeing with that desire to free your time and to work 4-hour work weeks and all that. And I get that. But like people neglect the journey in between, and like you can do that and eliminate your schedule and empty it out. But it also takes money and people and training and processes, and it takes you in a stable pattern to be able to do that. But while you're building the proverbial plane that's flying in the sky, like it's impossible. It's like I got to a point where I was so stressed, and I remember going home to my wife, and I was like, man, like I am so sick and tired of these meetings. Like it's all the time. I got 1 hour here, and then I get 30 minutes and another hour, and then I got to hop on with this person, and then it's this company, and then this team and this team. And she called me out, and she's like, well, just change it. And I looked at her, and I was just pissed. And I was like, it's not that fucking easy. You can't just change my schedule. I can't just tell people their meetings don't matter. And she really made me think, and I still stand by my statement, it's not that easy. But when I thought about it, I was saying it's not that it's impossible. It's not easy because of the season that I'm in. Like John pulled a dick move a couple weeks ago, and he instituted 2 daily meetings for our company RI Ops Center because we're trying to push the product out, and we were having slow lead times on our issues. So granted, it's worked. We've sped up, and we're almost near release. But like that's 2 more meetings in my day on top of all my other meetings that I have.
Hold on. I got to reproduce the exact response that it was like. Okay, John, sure. You like in the moment, you're like, this is not a good idea.
I was calculating my time, and I was like, man, like that means because I have an 8 o'clock, then a 9 o'clock, then a 10 o'clock. Some days I have an 11 o'clock, and then I get my 12 o'clock free, and then sometimes I have a 2 o'clock. I have a 2 o'clock with him. I have another 2 o'clock that overlaps that, and it's like it got to a point where anybody who doesn't know, I got the book behind me. What is it? The Power of One More by Ed Milet. And I think this is powerful because Carlos recommended that book to me, and Ed Milet breaks down that he gets 3 days in a day. And I said, that's crap.
He gets 3 days in a day? I haven't read
so he breaks, and I may fuck this up, but he breaks his day up from 6 a.m. to noon to 6, and 6 to midnight, basically. And in each day, he scheduled, in each one of those things, it's a day. So ironically, and I don't do this on purpose, ironically, on my Saturdays, I have like 3 days. So like in the morning, I wake up, I get to spend time with my family. I work, I hit the gym, which is in my house. I hit the gym, I go for a run. And while I'm in the gym, my kids are usually with me on just hanging out in the gym, or my wife. I go for a run, I come back, I shower, I make a protein shake, all that stuff. And by that time, it's usually like 11, maybe even 12, just depending on the day. I eat, and then I go to the office. And I stay at the office till like 5, and I get home by like 5, somewhere between 5 and 6. And so ironically, I have that. And I remember telling my wife, I was like, man, my Saturdays are like the ideal life for me. Like if this could be every day, because during those hours when I come into the office on a Saturday, and because I do it Sunday too, and I have those hours between like 12 and 5, 12 and 6, I crush it. I get more done in those days than I do during the week. And she goes, well, why don't you just do it? And I looked at her again. Because these are 2 separate events. And I was like, it's not that fucking easy. And like, I agree, but I'm bringing to you guys this topic because I also need to recant episode 2, 3, 4, whatever it was. I was talking about how I scheduled all my meetings on a Monday. That was a different season for me. Now, as we've started buying mobile home parks, I have to meet with attorneys. I have a bunch of shit with that. We opened up our property management company. All this stuff, my meetings again. I instituted a training program. I have a trainer now, so like another meeting on the books. That whole Monday schedule that I talked about early on is now gone, and now my meetings are spread throughout the week. And so my seasons have changed. So I bring this to you guys talking about at what point, knowing what I'm saying is like, people getting into real estate think that it's all free and clear, or the times I got to go visit my flips, right? Like there's always something. And yeah, if I had unlimited money, I bet I could eliminate all of these meetings and problems because I just hire C-level people and put them in. But that's not possible, right? Like that's not, at least for the season that I'm in. So I relate things back to seasons, and I really want to dive into that Ed Milet thing because that is my ideal day. I think I would be the happiest man alive if that was every day of the week for me.
Well, okay. First off, before we jump into seasons, because I think that is super key and relevant to you, I still think it's important to have an awareness of just like how important meetings are and if they're worth your time. Because like, I don't think you finished the story because I interrupted you, but we talked about how I implemented 2 meetings a day because we're trying to get to a finish line and we just weren't getting the speed and quick feedback loop that we wanted. But what's been the result of that meeting, Brandon?
Oh, we're crushing it, man. We've solved so many of our issues. Like, we're actually getting, again, I hate you for it. It's a love-hate relationship, bro. And that's why we're partners, because you did what I wouldn't do. And so I'm appreciative of you. And it's the same with my cold call meeting. Like, it's so important. Or not my cold call. Well, that meeting is important too. But my sales meeting every morning. But what am I supposed to do, John? And like,
so that's my point. So hold on. Now you're talking seasons, which is fine. So, but my point would be like, still analyze your meetings. If you're having dumb meetings, don't have dumb meetings. Like I saw a quote from Chris Renazio, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He's the CEO of a company called Trainual. And he was in a meeting for 90 minutes long. And what he did is he while he was in the meeting, he calculated up what's the prorated salary of everybody that was sitting there. And I think the total cost of that meeting, how much did it take to pay these people to sit there, was like $1,800. And so he went up to the guy at the end who ran the meeting and said, this meeting costs $1,800. Are you going to do it again? And the guy decided he's no longer going to hold that meeting because what was done in that meeting was not worth the cost at the time. So still like look at your meetings and be like, are they all worth it? Are they as short as they can be? Do we need to have a better agenda to make sure that we're actually talking about the topics that are going to move the business forward or my time forward? Like, make sure your meetings are worth it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about canceling meetings, John.
Right, but so now all your meetings are worth it, and it's still a lot. And so, I think the season is an interesting thing I never thought about when it comes to meetings.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the lie. So, like, a lot of people that listen to us, because I know some of our listeners, and they're newer or younger in the business, or maybe they're not a full-fledged, like, huge scaled operation. And when you see these people, and I'm not naming names, but you see these people smoking blunts and driving their sports car all day long, hitting the gym, riding on their boats and shit. And I get it. They've structured, and I'm not saying that's not doable, but it leaves this false impression that as soon as you start making $100K a month, all of a sudden you're ready to take a break and you don't need to be in your business anymore. So I go back to you, even if I'm there, am I supposed to tell my sales team that, hey guys, we don't need to do our meeting anymore? That ruins my results. So then what am I supposed to do? Hire somebody to put somebody in there? Well, that's easier said than done. That takes time, processes, training to do that, making sure that person sticks around. These things don't happen overnight. And that's where I was troubled, because when you do comparison, and I feel like, if I'm being honest, I'm probably I'm pretty bad when it comes to comparison. And like, you compare your business or where you're at to other people, and you say, well, why can't I do X, or why can't my day be like theirs? And you're just not in that season, and that's okay too. It's like, so I don't want to get rid of my meetings. My mom, funny story, my mom told me when she saw the meeting title of this, she goes, her company, DVNGL, is a large Norwegian company. They're actually one of the first companies to adopt crypto. They use VeChain. Huge company. They tried instituting no meeting Fridays. And I was like, oh shit, no, really? And I thought this was going to have a completely different story. She goes, you know how long that lasted? And I said, how long? She goes, 3 months. I was like, that's not how I thought this story was going to go, Ma. But she said, it turns out people still needed to meet on Fridays, like customers, clients. They're like a software company and everything. And it's like, well, that makes sense. Like, sometimes you can't cancel just because you want to, or I want to.
Right.
I can't cancel those meetings.
Yeah. I never thought about that seasonality when we just started talking about this, and that, I mean, we're obviously in a lot of meetings together. Like, I have the same kind of aspect or thinking about it now. It's like things seem like they're getting super busy, and a lot of time of that is in meetings. But on the flip side, even though those meetings are important, like, I feel like it affects my ability to do my own deep work out of meetings.
Yeah,
100%.
Carlos, what were we talking about before and after meetings and stuff? Like, it's not just the meeting.
Yeah. It's like the cost, the Chris Ronzio, that $1,800 cost of the meeting. You also have to add in some like taxes or like buffer costs too, because it's like the time leading up to the meeting, you can't get into any deep thought work. Like for me, like I joke around and say it's like a game of chicken. Like I'm doing like emails or responding to messages or like very low brain taxing activities, like leading up to a meeting, like 30 minutes or less, because I can't get into anything very deep. Yeah, can't get into anything deep. So I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and like many things in life, it's kind of like a paradox, and you kind of have to find both ends and pick the best of it. Like you could say, meeting too many, like the episode title is death by meetings. So you could say, have the approach like, oh, it's bad, but obviously meetings are amazing and they move stuff forward. So it's kind of like picking the best out of both. But yeah, 100%. We were jamming on that, Papa P. Like, I feel like
I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one. And I don't know how many other people out there think that maybe they're wasting their time or they make themselves feel bad because 30 minutes before a meeting, they literally can't do any work, and they tell themselves they can't because of the game of chicken. If I start, and John does this to me all the time. He did it this morning. He was like 5 minutes late to the meeting because he was trying to do deep work, and we're messaging him to start the fucking Zoom meeting, but he was trying to test our system because he lost at the game of chicken. And it happens all the time. Me, I'm not like John. Like, to me, I get anxious, and I'm like, I can't do anything. I'll be logged into the fucking meeting the way I was raised. I'm logged into the meeting waiting for them to start it 5 minutes before the meeting's supposed to start, because what else am I supposed to do other than what Carlos said? Check my emails, check my text, send a quick response to somebody, but I can't do deep work.
I am like that too. Like what I was doing, it was funny. This morning was like an interesting situation. Somebody messages, "Hey, I can't make the meeting," and then Brandon's like, "Well, I still got important things to go over." And so I was like, "Well, let's still meet and record it, and we'll pass it on to the people that can't come." And then the person that couldn't come was like, "Actually, I can do it 30 minutes later." And so, like, it was just like we kept moving it back. But I sat there and I was just like, I'm just jamming, writing up issues and typing and testing.
You were just jamming. Do you know what I was doing, motherfucker?
Sitting there waiting for me.
I was still logged into the meeting because I was on time and early to the meeting, because that's how I was raised. If you're early, you're fucking on time, and if you're on time, you're late. So I'm early, and then y'all pushed it 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I stayed on for 30 minutes, and then you were still fucking late.
I know, I was 4 minutes late.
So I was waiting. I was just like, oh my God. And it ate into my day, because before that I was working on getting everything finalized for the mobile home park. And so I was just trying to type emails and stuff. And I'm like, when's this meeting starting? How much more time can I dive deeper into this? And had I known I had this extra 34 minutes, who knows what I would have done. But moral of the story is how much time do we lose? Like Carlos said, the tax before and after, meeting the buffers, because you also don't want to schedule something directly after another meeting, because you need the buffer in between in case it runs over, in case you got to get food or you go to the bathroom or whatever it is. So you're losing all this incremental time out of your day because of these meetings.
But I remember you saying, and it was an interesting, like, it's a revelation, I think, for all three of us to be like, oh my God, we experience it the same way. However, if you have back-to-back meetings for like 4 hours straight, you feel phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I just got like all this good meeting work done, like moved things forward. They were all productive, and I had zero dead time in between. Those feel great. Those feel great.
Which is why I like my Mondays, how my Mondays used to be, where I stacked all my meetings throughout the day and the rest of the week was free. But that was a different season. I can't do that this season of my life. And I'm definitely not in the season where I have enough money to hire C-level people to replace me. I have started moving some of our people around to take some of my work. And I've been reading different leadership books. Like Multipliers is probably one of the best leadership books I've read. And I'm kind of wanting to reread it too, because I'm finishing it. I'm like, I might just loop back to it. About how different types of leaders and how you could get more out of people and give them the ideas for them to run with it instead of trying to control everything. And I think that's definitely helped take some of it off by giving more people stuff to do, and maybe it lessens some, but I'm still not in that season, man. And I just wanted to know, like, how many of our viewers were in this situation of maybe thinking they were alone in this death by meeting spiral and thinking that they're doing it wrong. And I'm not saying I'm doing it wrong. I just wish I was there already.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is you're looking for, and you know what the steps are to get out of that, right? Like we all know the hires that we need to make
Who,
in
not
order
how.
for that. Yeah, to do all of
That's
that, and
the-
to get to the point where we can all be in the gym smoking blunts. We'll get there one day. We're just not there yet.
Smoke blunt, bro.
Yeah.
Delivered by Uber.
Delivered by Uber. Yeah, that's right.
God, that dude's day boggles my mind that he just smokes weed all fucking day. Just like all the time.
I guess you can do that if you get the right people in the right spot.
Buy this course to find out more.
Not buying that guy's course.
Link in bio. This is good. This is a good topic, and I feel like everybody can pick something off from it, like pick something up from it. Rather, I'm kind of curious though because I brought up on the pre-show, and a lot of people like Michael Hyatt, one of my favorite people, this planner I've been rocking with, Dan Martell, some other books about planning out. When you're doing annual planning, you put your vacation time, you put your Mama P lake time, you put your Whitfield family North Carolina trips in there. But a lot of those books or coaches say that's the very first thing that you do. And I was like, that's kind of the same thing they would recommend for laying out your week. It's like Papa P, if he was doing it, he would put his Saturday in there, hitting the gym, walking the dog, hanging out with the family at the end of the night. So I'm kind of curious and want to lob it up to you guys. What is like some tactical advice or like an exercise that someone could do to see whether or not their meetings are effective or make any adjustments from there?
Hell if I know. No. I don't feel like I have a good way to view that. It's more like a feeling for me. Like I guess I can see, like I could feel the benefits from the meetings, right? Like I have a good, I called litmus test for meeting. Like, was that meeting worth my time? Is something good going to come out of it? I feel like I know that now. But I don't do much reflection, and not compared to what you can do, Carlos, and maybe that's an important part. Were you going to say, Brandin?
I mean, so I started adding like a tempo. So I have a tempo for, and I don't have this. We do for our app center, but like for my other business, like in my wholesaling business, like when I do my main meetings, they are pretty cut and dry. I've gotten better at it because I used to just go into the meetings, and I've really been working on my leadership this year. Like it's one of my biggest goals. And one of the things was adding a tempo. So like we'll go into like our management meeting is different than our sales meeting, but I've given a tempo to it and I open the floor up. So we'll go over, like we'll log in and we'll talk about wins. And if people don't have wins, I'll repeat it. And no one's got any wins for the week, blah, blah, blah. Do I have a win for the week? And then we'll go into KPIs, then we'll go into issues. And I'm giving everyone the opportunity to speak, and I have people lead their departments and talk about it. And if it's done in 30 minutes, we're done and out. Whereas before, I would fill that time with like literally circle talking myself of just talking about the same thing over and over again. And with my sales meeting too, like we have a tempo and we get into it. And before I hold one of my main meetings, not my impromptu meetings, but our main meetings, we have a tempo. What'd you do yesterday? What do you got planned for today? Do you have any issues, specific questions? And so what'd you do yesterday is more KPIs. So we talk about wins and KPIs from yesterday, what we got going on today, any issues. Then we go into script train and we're done. If we get through everything and everything's smooth, we're out in 40. Today we were out in like 40 minutes instead of the hour. Sometimes we're the full hour.
Yeah.
So we're going into structure a little bit, which I want to transition into. I'll put it.
But I can't answer your question though, Carlos. Is what I was trying to say. That is my litmus test. Is can I structure the meeting? When I'm structuring it, is there a purpose, and that this purpose should drive? And then my only litmus is like, are they participating? If they're not participating and they expect me to lead as the boss, because I'm not the leader, I'm the boss in that moment. I need other people to lead in the meetings. I need them to lead their individual departments, their issues, their questions, not just wait and say yes, boss. So if I'm not getting that out of them, then I say something's wrong. Either they don't need it or they're not the right people in my mind.
No, that's good. That's good variables for understanding like the importance or the necessity of a particular meeting. I think the Chris Ronzio, for me kind of giving an answer for John, I think the Chris Ronzio is somewhat of a parallel of an answer John could give, just being like, hey, is this worth our time? Essentially doing it, just thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to do is kind of a light exercise, like you got to get an understanding of the entirety of your week, 168 hours, just mapping that out. Like, where are you spending time? Take away your sleep time, take away whatever you personally, the times that you want to work, and then just kind of map it out from there, have fun with it, and see, like, what needs to get done, what's going to move the meeting forward.
I think that's I think that was pretty smart. Like, if you're talking about like something that's helped me in this death by meeting run is almost what you said with like me and my wife or whoever your partner is, whatever it is, right? Like just scheduling out your vacation time. So like I got my calendar and it's like I have in here no matter what, like, because I've been losing weight, like just trying to focus on stuff and get healthy. So I have my run scheduled. Like I know when I'm walking out and I book that in my time slot. I have when I have to take my daughter to practice. I even have dinner booked in here.
Love it.
You know what I mean? And now like there's times that the running things may not be possible because if I have to make a choice, and maybe this is wrong, if I have to make a choice between an impromptu meeting or John's morning meeting running over, like it did the other day, we were on for over an hour and I couldn't go run. I didn't just go, oh, my whole day's gone, but that's a victim. And so what I had to do, I had to change my afternoon schedule to go do that. And so like, and luckily our afternoon one went over, which then pushed my next thing over, but I still found my time for running.
What was that, Tuesday?
No, I think, was it Tuesday? That was
long
Wednesday.
day. Long day.
That's a good point to bring up too. I was gonna say.
So I do book it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that exercise is good. Just kind of like analyzing your entire week. One thing for like you guys that we haven't done it for some reason this is coming up in thought, but it's a company that sends out surveys or they ask for feedback on the meeting. Did we ever do that, John? It was something
on
where
our
like
own
asked
meetings.
the team, yeah. For some reason, I'm
that.
coming up with this, or maybe it's somebody that I spoke to where it pretty much asked them like, "Hey, was this a valuable meeting?" And it's almost like we send out surveys. Yeah, that's a company that does it. But it's kind of just asked, like, instead of sending surveys to your customers or your clients, whatever, it's like to the team, like, was this meeting helpful, X, Y, Z, and kind of just getting like real feedback. You could probably hit something to make it anonymous. And I'm also kind of want to transition.
Because a lot of people would be afraid to respond to that.
Yeah. I kind of want to transition into like asking you guys like how to structure meetings, because I'm just thinking of the lifetime of Investor Fuse. Like we've had all different types of stuff. Like I'm even laughing kind of thinking of, we used to have daily huddles. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just crazy to think about this now. Like there was a point in time where we would meet like every day at like 9 Eastern, 10 Eastern, something like that.
That was John got the idea.
And we eliminated it. No, those are like in books and stuff. Traction, Rocket Fuel, all those different type of books lay out all these meetings and more. But I remember for us personally, I want to say that we got rid of the daily huddles because someone suggested, they're like, hey, I can't get into deep work. And then we would end up like posting kind of like asynchronously. We would like post in a project management tool, just like what we were doing that day or what we do end of the day, stuff like that. So I kind of want to talk to you guys because you guys are in one business together and we do this podcast. So it's the interesting, like the overlaps that we have. What is your guys' insight on structuring meetings as being pretty long time entrepreneurs here?
I'll go first and then Brandon can go next. I've honestly gotten away from it a little bit. I think in Investor Fuse I think after we read Traction, we're like, let's go crazy, and the crazy felt too much, and it felt too fake, and there was not enough realness. And as our team got smaller through the years, we had a period of downsizing. And our team has not really, we added 2 support team members this year, but other than that, our team has not grown. I've gotten comfortable. I've gotten very comfortable in our meetings and the people that are in them and the collaborative effort that we're going towards, enough that I did not feel like a lack of hardline structure was a negative. But as I look towards the future, and like expecting 2023 to be a bigger growth year for us and bringing on new team members, I see that is going to be a problem. That it's not going to provide the right situation for meetings to be as effective as our employee count grows. And so I've been thinking about how can I bring a bit more structure back in, but still maintain, the realness of the meetings. And I mean, we're a virtual team. And so like, and we've had this conversation with our executive team, because our executive team meetings currently are like an hour and a half. And honestly, like 30 minutes of them are just us chatting, because that's the only chatting we do all week long.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we don't have anybody else that we're not, hanging out in the kitchen at lunchtime, chatting it up. And to work so closely with people virtually, and to say, okay, hey, we're just going to run right into this meeting, get straight to the agenda, and we're not going to talk about anything fun, feels like it could bring morale down a little bit. So like I still want to maintain some of that, but at the same time bring some structure back in for the just what is it that we're actually working towards, especially as the team grows. And I had something else that I was wanting to say about that, but I can't remember. Like daily huddles and stuff. I do like, we're doing it right now for our dev team, just mostly to and actually, like you just asked if I got that from Traction. The only reason I suggested that, I was like, what would it feel like if we were all in the same office?
Yeah.
That they could work on something, bring it to us, we could all look at it together, give feedback, and then they'd be able to fix it in a couple of hours and talk about it again. And so I was trying to like make it feel like that, less than like a daily huddle where you stand and be like, this is what I'm working on today, and here are any problems. We have done that asynchronously via Basecamp. It just, you put in what are you working on each day, and I feel like that works great to help us with awareness levels. I don't feel like we need a daily huddle there. Go for it, Brandon.
That's the difference, man, is maybe we're ignoring the fact that there's a difference between virtual and in office.
That's true.
So we're sitting here and we're all virtual. I used to be in office. I used to do a daily huddle too. We'd have each department get together. We'd have like 2 daily huddles almost. And one of them was just mostly just getting the sales team, the transaction people, the dispo, me, everyone, the NTC all together just to discuss deals, everything going on, making sure we're all in sync on that. And then of course we'd have like our department or manager meetings. But so that was different. I just think, so this year, I've said it numerous times, I've worked on my leadership. So I've been reading a lot of leadership books, and a lot of leadership comes with meetings, because in the meeting, we're trying to get the pulse. Yeah. I never structured my meetings before. I scheduled meetings, but never structured meetings. I had huddles, but never structured them. I had department meetings, never structured them. It was just, here's the time, let's get together.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because of that, you are accomplishing things and talking and getting a pulse per se, but you're not, I wouldn't say I was moving the needle and effectively guiding anything. There was no guiding going on. It was just kind of like, oh, we're here, let's talk. What are you doing? Okay, go do this. But there was no follow-up on it. There was no structure and flow to it. So as I'm reading all these books, like one common theme is that structure. Like your meeting needs to have a purpose, and your structure needs to benefit that purpose effectively.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've been really trying to do, and it is hard with a virtual team, especially when everyone's from a different culture in a different country, and they look at leadership differently. Bosses and managers all are very different perception in different countries, of trying to do less myself and then asking the right questions to them to have them talk and come up with the ideas, instead of me, everyone looking to me to be the one to say and talk stuff. And I've caught myself numerous times. One of the tips the guy said is, he's like, and it depends on the type of leader you are. I come from a very different background, so it's taken a lot for me. And the guy said, and we should maybe do this on the show so I don't talk as much. He said, one of the things, is you give yourself 5 chips. And on each chip, you're allowed, like each one, like let's say this is 30 seconds. This one's 2 minutes. This is a minute. This is 15 seconds. And maybe this is like a 4-minute one. And that's all you can talk.
Oh, wow.
And so whenever you want to interrupt, so if I come into a meeting or a talk show like this, and instead of responding to everything one of your employees says and have a response to that and try to tell them how to do it or how you would do it or how you have done it and do circle talk a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you get 5 chips. Use them wisely. That's all you could talk throughout the meeting. Once you give one away, that's it. You give your 15-second one away, or you give your minute one, you can't talk for a minute anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was very intriguing as a way, because you control the meeting less effectively. Like now it's on the other people to participate and get their point of views out, instead of you telling them what their point of view should be, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
something I'm
intriguing.
working on. I don't actually have chips in front of me, but on my Monday meetings with my whole team, I'm really trying to do less and listen more, and I'm trying to coax them to talk more.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I should actually do the chips instead of doing it mental. and
I
start
feel like
recording.
I actually am bad at that, which is weird, because if you guys met me in person, I am not a talkative person. I mean, Carlos knows, like, we've been in person together, and I like listening more and asking questions. But sometimes as the leader of the company, when I get into a meeting, like I get on a little bit of a soapbox, just like
Yeah.
blabbing, and I'll find myself explaining projects that other people are doing versus just letting them explain what they're doing.
Exactly. And that's where the leadership part comes in. Is it's kind of like, and this is, I really love, I mean, I've read a lot of leadership books, but multipliers, other than like the who not how stuff, like multipliers is definitely one. And it's like, well, you got to groom your talent, and if you're not allowing them the space to talk, and you're always telling them what to do or what to think, and you're doing the talking for them, eventually they default always for you to solve that problem instead of just being quiet. And asking questions is a good thing. Why and how, the 2 most profound questions, which I got from the Who Not How book. Why and how.
Love it.
So I did that the other day to one of my people, and I just kept asking why. And at first she was like trying to explain herself to me. And I'm like, no, but why? And she would give it another layer. And eventually, after asking why, I think I asked it like 4 times. Eventually she got to the why, as this was a problem. And I was like, oh yeah, I fucking did it. I did it.
Walked out that meeting patting yourself on the back, huh?
Because I could have easily just told her what the problem was, and I could have said, so here's what's happened, and here's where the problem is, and here's what you need to do. But what does that do if they don't figure it out themselves?
I like that.
Better, but I'm getting better.
Yeah, that's life, man. We're all getting better. I'm thinking of Raul, my friend Raul, that's down here, and this is from a long time ago. I was talking to him. And I don't know where he got it from, but it's essentially that. It's like he almost knows the problem, but when he has like his one-on-ones with his company, he expects the person, and it's almost like an installation of a company culture or an aspect of the company culture. It's like, I want you to problem solve with me live instead of me just telling you what's wrong. Like, I know what's wrong. Let's have a discussion until you come to that conclusion yourself. And then we'll roll through it. Obviously, it's not a super strict, like you're gonna get your head cut off, or like I'm not gonna tell you the problem, but like let's try to work through it and come to the conclusion, so you can kind of get into that habit of like problem solving.
So if you bring this full circle, right? So like I think maybe we were looking about this the wrong way. So like if you bring this full circle and you say, well, if you really work on the leadership aspect of it, and you get the people that you hired and are paying, and maybe you don't have enough money to pay for every single person that you definitely need to build out the right team structure. But let's just say with the people that you have, if you're a proper leader and you're a multiplier, right? Or you're somebody that generates talent and grows it, by doing that and actually doing less in the meetings that you're in, not just by being quiet and not doing anything, but by actually provoking that thought and intelligence out of the people you believe to be intelligent, right? And good workers, you effectively remove yourself from the decision making, you remove yourself from the helping, and you put them in that power, which means they need you less, which means then you can exit yourself from some of the meetings, because during that season, right? Again, seasons. In this season, you got to train them, coach them, you got to boost their confidence, right? And then that brings it all the way back to where eventually, if you do that, you can get out. Even if you don't have all the people, bodies that you need to take yourself out of everything, you could still take yourself out of some of the stuff just by getting people to not rely on you for everything. And that becomes you part of being a leader. You can't just tell somebody to do that. You have to get them to do it. You have to invoke that out of them. So I think that's how you could get the death by meeting thing done, is being a better leader. If you're so needed in your meetings, dare I say that you're then not a good leader. How can you grow a company? And I think that's where I was and why I've always struggled back in the day, or even most recently. Everyone needed me. And maybe that made me feel good, but it made our bottom line feel real bad.
Yeah, that's the way to think about it. Mm-hmm.
Well said. Wise words from a very decent man.
Wise words. Wise man once said. I did that to my daughter the other day. She was talking about how something wasn't fair or something, and I responded to her and I put quotes around it and said Shakespeare at the end, just to try to make it seem very thoughtful. She called me out on it, and I was like,
she's like, that's not a Shakespeare quote.
That's not a Shakespeare. I said, what are you talking about? I quoted it and said Shakespeare. Why? You think I'm going to lie about that? It's a Shakespeare quote. I just made it up and I wanted it to seem important, so I said, quote unquote, Shakespeare.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Yeah. She's too old and too smart.
That's right. Gotta do that with your younger kids.
Yeah.
So, Pulse of the Week. What's happening in the world?
Oh, Pulse of the Week. Twitter took over Elon, and he's trying to live in. So I heard this thing on CNBC, and I don't know, but he goes, one of the biggest investors in like Elon's companies was up on CNBC, and he goes, Elon made a joke. Like, Elon doesn't live anywhere, right? Like, so Elon made a joke, and he's like, you know what I'm going to do with Twitter headquarters? I'm going to turn it into a homeless shelter. And the guy was like, what the fuck would he, he was like, man, why would he say that? And then he realized it because then Elon is like living inside of Twitter, and Elon has no home. So Elon is homeless. So he's living inside Twitter. So it is effectively a homeless shelter because he lives in one of those boxables or whatever they're called. But I guess there was a thing on Instagram I saw where Elon not only is doing layoffs, he's laid off some of the C-level suite, but he's also laying off a lot of people, but he's trying to get all of his new programs about free speech and the rules and everything around that, the new guidelines and policies, where I guess people are sleeping on the floor to get this work done because they have a deadline. And I was laughing and at the same time shaking my head because you have two camps of people. One that is like, how dare you make somebody work extra hours, right? I call them the losers. And then you have the other people I call the winners going, fuck yeah, let's get this shit done. I'll do whatever it takes because I take pride in my work, and I'm going to sleep on the floor to get it done. And I was like, I was all for it. I was like, fuck yeah, man, you guys sleep on the floor? I slept in back when the day I slept in the office before, whatever it fucking takes. I used to have to call India at night because I was in charge of our India corporation. So I would just like take naps in the office, and I had to be there till like midnight sitting in the office, because this was before modern technology, to be on my local computer to go through our books and stuff to talk, because I was an accountant, to talk to the controller in India. So what did I do? Whatever it took. And you got people on Instagram freaking out about how they're overworking them and all this shit. It's like Jeff Bezos getting fucking sued by his housekeeper because his housekeeper boggles my mind. Jeff Bezos was getting sued not only because he it was racially unfair or something, because the maid, there was unfit quarters inside of his multi-billion, like $1 million mansion for eating and bathrooms. They weren't supplied enough breaks, and like there wasn't enough like places for all of his employees to be, and they were made to do more work and work extra hours without extra pay. And it's like, bro, like now you're suing the guy because he worked too hard.
Sounds like getting a lawyer had a conversation with them. Let's see how we might be able to make some money
labor
here.
law. I'm sure a labor law lawyer was like, did you know that if he made you work extra hours without a bathroom and a food break and a bed to sleep in overnight, that you could sue him? I'll represent you for free and only take my money on contingency. I can see some shit like that happening, and they're targeting my man Bezos, and all he's trying to do is deliver your fucking deodorant the day you order it.
The another Pulse of the Week we didn't wrap on prior to involving Bezos is apparently the Washington Commanders, formerly the Washington football team.
Oh, he's bidding on them.
Formerly the Washington Redskins.
They're always the Redskins to me, Carlos. The fucking Redskins.
Same with my dad. He's a DC guy. Grew up in DC area. But him, and then bring on a partner, Jay-Z, and other people into buying
it. Is that who it is?
Jay-Z, yeah.
Yeah.
But someone did the math on it. I was seeing like Bezos has enough money to buy every single team
Yeah.
at a little bit over.
I was going to say, does he need a partner, Carlos?
He doesn't, but I think it's a good. I think it's a good play to bring on Jay-Z just for his influence in the world. Like if Jay-Z and Jay-Z's been talking about this for years of owning an NFL team, so I would be a massive fan of that. Nobody likes Dan Snyder anyway. The Redskins or the
is he voluntarily selling, or are they pushing him out?
No, there's some. There potentially may be something that they're getting sued for. Like he would be potentially getting sued for, because there was a little stir up a couple weeks ago where he pretty much said like, hey, if I'm going to be forced to sell, I'm going to take everybody down with me and share dirt on other owners and the commissioner of the league, Roger Goodell. That was like a week or two ago. But now it looks like he might just be willing to sell and not have himself exposed or be open to like financial lawsuits. But that would be huge, and that's been Bezos' plan for a while, because what is the paper that he owns? The Washington Post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something linked with owning the NFL team, the Post, some other stuff that Bezos has had like a master plan for.
He's doing a master plan. In this country, the United States of fucking America, owning a sports team, that's how we fucking knight people.
Cubes.
Okay? That's it.
Cubes.
That is nobility. We don't have, John, we're not your country. We're not lords and dukes and marquis and all this shit, okay?
Marquise. I think
that's French. It's French.
Thanks.
I recently watched a movie about Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Wonderful movie about a woman in a dress, but nobility. Anyway, that's how we knight people, bro. You are not noble in this country. Like, that is the upper echelon, like England's nobility. When you own a basketball team, a fucking football team. Am I going to say baseball? Yeah, I guess I'll say maybe back in like the 30s and 40s, baseball was it. But you know what I mean? Like, but basketball and football, like those are the two ways. Like, man, you own one of those.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know about, who is it, The Rock trying to buy a pickleball team or some shit, but I don't know if we really knight people.
Pickleball's blowing up.
Who is,
there's a
somebody's
bunch of
trying to buy a pickleball team, and I was like...
A bunch of people are. LeBron, too.
Is it LeBron? Okay, what? Maybe it was LeBron and...
Yeah.
That seems weird. My pulse of the week is it's actually last week, and my cousin got back from Denmark, and we had a meeting. Or not a meeting. We had a Zoom call with family on the weekend. We do it like once a month. And he gave me some interesting stats, which made me think of the first thing you said. What's the first thing you said about Pulse of the Week, Brandon? We just went through so many fun things I forgot.
Twitter, overworking people.
Twitter, overworking people. That's right. And like the dichotomy between the rest of, maybe not the rest of the world, but anyway, Denmark has like 7.5 million people. 25% of them are millionaires.
Wow.
35% of them own two
Hang on,
homes.
why? What are they doing?
4-day work weeks. The average person inside of Denmark works 35 hours.
Yeah, that's how much we work. 36 hours is our average work week here.
But they do it in 4 days.
34 or something. Yeah. Well, I just read, coincidentally, I just read a thing, I don't know it to be true or not, that Chick-fil-A is going to try 4-day work weeks. Again, that's Instagram. I could have been deep faked again. Shit. But I did.
They're going to do it? Yeah, Carrots
they're going to try 4-day.
I think they do it
work
certain
week.
times of the year.
4-day weekends, which is a 3-day work week.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I think I got faked out again. This is why you can't believe shit on Instagram. I need to stop getting my news from Instagram, people.
Yeah. But anyways, it's interesting because like everything costs so much for like a person who visits Denmark, but like if you live there, like even bartenders get like you don't tip there because they're just like they get a livable wage. It was just interesting, like comparing that to Twitter employees having to sleep under their desks for their life earnings. But like that's the fun thing about a capitalist society. Like the hard earners are the ones that lay some stats on me, or you're frozen. Coming back to life.
We
might be losing Papa P. He had some fun stats.
He's deep faking us right now.
Okay, there you go.
Chick-fil-A is in fact working on a 4-day weekend where they're grouping employees into 2 pods that switch off working 3 consecutive days of 13, 14-hour shifts so they can have 4-day weekends.
13 to 14-hour shifts? That's not a hospital. They don't have beds inside.
Fuck that, dude. I used to do that in the steel mill all the time. I used to work like 16 double shifts all the time in the steel mill.
That is interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, my family all in the medical field work like 12-hour shifts, but they also have their own bed and like bedroom.
Who needs a bed for 12 hours, bro? I pull 12-hour days. I don't got a bed. It's all work and espresso.
That's intriguing, though. Like, I'm thinking about it. If I was like working at a Chick-fil-A, I might do 3 13-hour days so that I could have 4 days off. I might do that.
But again, you can't, John, because you've instituted daily 8 and 2 o'clock meetings. So I'll see you there every day at 8 and 2, bro.
It all comes full
See you
circle.
there. It's a season, man. It's a season.
I just feel like I get it, but I just feel like our society has weakened down. Weakened down, bro. If you can't work a 12, 13-hour day and you feel some sort of way about that, you know, they should go visit another country that doesn't have these fucking luxuries.
I do days like that a lot. Especially lately.
Yeah. Gratitude and just framing things can help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing what other countries are like. Maybe not Denmark, but a lot of other places are not as nice as the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying the U.S. is perfect, but I mean, do I even 25% of the U.S. population to be millionaires? I don't even think 25% of the U.S. population has it inside of them to become millionaires.
Well, that's the thing. When your population's so much smaller and just so much geographically contained, like the impacts that you can do as a union making laws
like state level, like we could do at state level, even
smaller than a state. It's like the state of Delaware, for crying out loud.
Fuck that, dude. Tell me if you think right now in the state of Florida, 25% of us should be millionaires.
Florida, man? No, I'm good. I don't think.
Come on, bro. People there'd be some weird shit going on in the swamps down south.
Mm-hmm. Florida man with his $1 million.
Florida man suddenly wealthy, dude. 25% of Florida becoming millionaires overnight. DeSantis. My man DeSantis is really pushing his campaign hard. I'm getting text messages and calls from him day and night. I mean, they have really. If you want to learn marketing, you need to go to the DeSantis campaign and figure out how he's blasting me with text messages 5 times a day.
I hate election time. It's just inundated. Luckily, I don't watch normal TV anymore. I would want to probably strangle myself if I watched normal TV where there's commercials. Because where were we? I can't even remember. I think my mother-in-law's watching normal TV, and it's just like every single commercial is an election commercial. I just like do my own research.
Let me live, baby. Just let me live. Let me make my money in peace. That's all I care about.
Exactly. Exactly. Control what you can control. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming to Let's Talk Real Estate. We'll see you here at the same time next week. Message, subscribe. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We would love to, if you're like, want us to talk about something, let's do it. Have a great weekend.